Welcome to Outlaw Woodworking. One of the tools in my shop that I use a lot is my chainsaw, and I'm constantly cutting firewood, and I'm starting to learn how to make outdoor furniture out of logs and stuff. So the chainsaw is probably one of my more important tools around my property, because I have a lot of acreage and I have a lot of trees and they're falling down all the time, and so I'm constantly using my chainsaw. But one thing that's important to me is I like a sharp chainsaw. I mean, there's nothing worse than having a chainsaw that is dull and won't go through a log. So, and I've learned that there's like three different ways to. There's probably more, but there's three ways that I know about. And one of them is to sharpen your chainsaw by hand, which is actually the way I like to do it. And then the other way is you can use a guide to, like, if you're not comfortable keeping your file level, you can use a guide. And then the other way that's really popular still makes a 3-in-1 tool that not only files 2 teeth at one time, but it also files your rake at the same time. But I prefer to do it by hand, and today I'm going to show you how I do it. And I've had good success with keeping my chainsaw sharp. I sharpen it every time before I go out, and then I also take my files with me. And sometimes if I accidentally hit a rock or some dirt, or I'll file it when I'm out there. But most of the time I'm pretty careful, and I can go out and come back and still have a sharp chainsaw these days. But that's just practice and knowing how to keep it sharp. Anyway, let me show you how I sharpen it, and let's get started. The first thing I do is I made these blocks to clamp my bar in this vise. So most of the time I will sharpen my chainsaw in this vise before I go out. And I get a nice pair of glasses on, and I'll find a spot, I'll find a starting point, and I'll mark that starting point. I'll mark the top of the tooth, I'll put a little line through it, something that distinguishes it from all the rest, and that's my starting point. So basically what I'll do is I'll get a comfortable position and figure out which direction I'm going to start from. So in this case, I'm going to be filing this way. So I'm going to position myself right here on the front. And I made a mark on that tooth. So I'm going to start on this tooth, and I'm going to file every other one and go right around. Let me show you how I do it. I don't know how good a picture this is, but you can see I marked the top of this tooth, and I'm going to start here and work my way all the way around. And the first thing I'm going to do is I figure out my level point, and I've got the right size file, which is 3/16, and I'm going to do the same amount of strokes on each tooth. So I usually do 5 strokes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see there's a line on the top of the tooth that shows you the angle that you're supposed to be going with your blade. So I just did 5 strokes on that. I moved down to the next one, 5 strokes. And I just continue that right around every other one. And I keep the file nice and level. I'm not doing it too hard, I'm just doing nice even strokes. 5 each time. And just go over the other one. I'm not forcing it, I'm just doing a simple stroke. The main thing is to keep your file nice at a 45 with your teeth and your saw blade. And you can, it's pretty quick. I do 5 strokes on each one. Try to keep the same amount of pressure. And I just go around until I see that mark. I've noticed that since I've been doing it by hand, that I can really, my blades really come out sharp, and I've had really good success with them. And it's just a matter, so there's the one I marked right there. So that means I'm done with this side. Now I'll switch over positions to the other side, and I'll switch to the other side and I'll do the same thing. Doing the same amount of strokes. Always keeping the blade at a 45 degree to your bar. It's important to do the same amount of strokes, because if you file one blade down more than another blade, you're not going to have a consistent cutting. So usually I always do 5. And you just go until you get back to that other mark. And there's the other mark. So that's the one you started with right there. So now both sides of the teeth are done. The next step is your rake center. Now, most of the time I'll sharpen my teeth about 4 times before I sharpen the rake. But what I'll do is I'll do the same thing on the rake. And you can do this just from one side. I'll file the rake 5 times. And we'll start out at this same spot here. And then I'll file the rake 5 times on each one. Now I don't usually do this every time I sharpen. I'll do it every 4 times. And there's the one I started with. So now I've got my rake filed down and all my teeth filed down, and I'm done. Ready to go and get started with another day. Thanks for watching Outlaw Woodworking. I hope you enjoyed this episode of how the Outlaw sharpens his chainsaw. And there's all different kinds of ways. You can use these roller guides. You can use the Stihl 3-in-1. I think there's some other. They actually have a grinder type tool that you can buy. I'm really comfortable with doing it by hand, and it's easy, and I have really good success with it. Once in a while, your files do go bad, so I'll usually buy a pack of 25 of these, and they're only like, I'll post how much they are. I'll post the things I use, and these are basically 3/16 inch files just for chainsaws, and I buy them in packs of 25, I think. And then also you can get new ones of these files for your rakes also. But yeah, that's how I sharpen my chainsaw, and hopefully you can do the same. You can do it. A lot of guys use these little rollers, and I personally, I like to just do it by hand, but I'm comfortable with it. It works. So anyway, go sharpen your chainsaw, and I'll see you out in the woods.